Hello and welcome to Planet Smasher HQ. It is Monday morning and I am thinking about Gaslands. I have just received some excellent playtesting feedback on Gaslands XL. Thank you to Lucy and the Shrewsbury mob. Their feedback has been excellent and I've got a lot to think about. Given that this is a sort of intriguing middle part of the process, not quite coming up with new ideas, not promoting the game, but the grotty playtesting and development part, I thought I would share my work. So if you want to ride shotgun whilst we fix Gaslands XL together, hop on in and let's beat it into shape. All right. Good morning and welcome to Planet Smasher HQ. I am sitting down this morning to do some work on Gaslands XL and I thought I would share my process as I work through this. I've just had some feedback from an awesome playtesting group in Shrewsbury. Thank you to Lucy Morton and the squad for giving me some notes on the game so far. There's some really good feedback in here, and so I wanted to just sit with it for a while and work through what they're saying and what some of the implications are, which is why I've got some post-it notes and I'm going to be sitting with the rulebook. I figured, given that I'm going to be doing this work, I might as well talk my way through it and share this bit of the process with you. For those that don't know, Gaslands XL is an expansion that I'm working on for Gaslands, which is... it's been around for a while. This was originally going to be in Blaster Volume 5, but it is an answer to the question, if you have too many cars, what can you do with them all? And it is an attempt to make a sort of mass battle system out of Gaslands. So it is mostly the same as normal Gaslands, except it gives you these things called squadrons, and squads lets you... Are they called squads or squadrons? Called squadrons. They are like 3 vehicles that sort of operate as a single unit and share some stats and stuff. That is the way that Gaslands XL makes running lots more cars, like 200, 300 cans worth of cars, viable. But because squadrons basically are like 3 vehicles in one squad, it messes with a bunch of the core rules. And so I think that's one of the main things that's coming out of this feedback. So let's have a look at the feedback and we'll see where we get to. So, all right. So I've printed out the email for the sake of being able to highlight it. So there's a issue. So blast is an issue with hazards being shared among squads and then all having to pass a wipeout check. So blast is a problem. Double checking, we know that we roll the skid dice and apply, and the results apply to the squadron, but what about if the lead vehicle goes up 1 gear and then the second goes down 2 gears, bringing the squad below the current gear phase? Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's some funkiness about changing gears. I can't remember how that works, I'll have to remind myself. With the squad's rule of getting the cheapest chassis free, is there any limit on this? We happen to have a 200 can match where one player had 2 squads of tanks, which even to us was hilarious, yet a little overpowered. Yeah, I think I know already what the answer to that is going to be. So buy 1, get 1 free tanks. So I think the answer to bog off tanks is squadrons must be med or... So that's my first problem. I think that's going to be what that one is. Blast. So do I need a specific rule override for blast? Or a limit on the number of hazards? Yeah, I'm not sure what the solution to the blast thing is. Going to have to have a look at that. And then we've got squad mates changing up and down. The removal of audience votes makes a number of the sponsors lose their identity, as some become unplayable, and thus the sponsors that don't really rely on audience vote become more popular and a little too powerful, i.e. Rutherford, which everyone bar one player picked as their sponsor. So sponsors are a problem here. So I think in my mind, by getting rid of audience votes in this, I was sort of neutering the complicated relationships between audience votes, the more complex mechanics, and the squadrons. But I think that's just something I was ignoring, and I've got to unignore it and have a little think about that. So that's going to be so this I think is going to be sponsors, perks, squadrons. Gonna have to think about that. And what else we got? People like that ammo weapons are toned down, with the increase in targets making ammo use more of a decision. Also, with the additional squads, making your vehicle explode is a potential negative, damaging your own vehicles, which wasn't very often the case before. Okay, so those are just some things that are good. A few players have had trouble understanding the squad coherency rules. Okay, that makes me just want to make sure that the coherency is well explained. All right, that's all the main problems. So let's have a look at what we're dealing with here. I'm going to start with the tanks problem because I think that's the easiest to solve. So convoy construction. Squadrons are a group of exactly 3 vehicles. They may be individually purchased weapons and upgrades as per the normal Gaslands rule, but may not purchase perks. When purchasing a squadron, the cost of the cheapest chassis is discounting, meaning you get 3 vehicles for the price of 2, but you must pay for all weapons and upgrades. If there is multiple cheapest, you only get 1 free. So we are going to say of exactly 3 medium or lightweight vehicles. So we've solved that one. Okay, blast. So let's just go and make sure we've got the exact rules for blast in our head. For every uncancelled hit caused by a weapon or effect with the blast rule, the target immediately gains 1 hazard token. The target immediately gains 1 hazard token. Okay, perfectly simple. Let's find out how this stuff works in this. So to debug this, we need to know how squadrons work. Squadrons of vehicles in Gaslands XL have some minor modifications to the normal rules of Gaslands. You get a squadron dashboard card for each of your squadrons. Oh, I should show you what one of those looks like. Now, here's a squadron card. This is 2 squadron cards actually. So it says what the squadron name is, it says what the squadron cost is, and then you've basically got 3 little dashboard cards here. And there's 1 gearbox and there's 1 place for hazards. So the hazards and the speed are shared by everything. Oh yes, that gives me an idea for how to solve the speed problem, but we'll get to that in a minute. Only the lead vehicle can change gear, question mark. That would be a simple solution. So the squadron statistics, handling is the lowest. Oh, that's interesting. We want to have a handling value here. Okay, so we were dealing with blast. Every uncancelled hit causes a weapon or effect with the blast rule. The target immediately gains 1 hazard token, and here we've got hazard tokens are placed on the squadron as a whole, not on individual vehicles within the squadron. When any vehicle in the squadron gains or loses a hazard token, the whole squadron gains or loses it instead. And then damage is recorded on each vehicle in the squadron individually. Check off hull boxes on the appropriate vehicle on the squadron card. So blast is a bit of a problem because it's linking damage and hazards together, and squadrons have separated those 2 things apart. So I wonder what the solution here is. The solution could be to mod blast specifically for this game mode and say blast just does 1 hazard token for each damage. It means multiple small attacks are better than 1 big one, which is weird. Which is why I was thinking, well, is there a limit to the blast hazards that you can pick up in a specific activation. Blast has always been a tricky rule. I'm not sure what the solution is here. All right, let's get some cards out and think about it. All right, we've got a squadron of 3 vehicles here. You stay put. And we've got this guy over here is going to shoot with a blast weapon. He targets one of the vehicles. He hits. He rolls a couple successes. That guy takes some damage, but also takes some hazards. The hazards are shared by the whole unit. So it could be that it takes a number of hazards equal to the number of vehicles. That would mean that when there are 3 vehicles, you suffer more, which kind of would represent the area, the disrupting area of effect attack. That's not bad. Whereas if there's 1 vehicle, it can only take 1 damage. Or it could be the other way round, where what would the other way around be? It'd be like if you take 3 damage and there's 3 guys, you only take 1. I can't think of a way to do that neatly. All right, well, let's go with blast weapons are good against multiple tightly packed units. Oh, let's have a look at squad coherency, because that could be another thing. Okay, so let's have a quick look at squad coherency, because it could be that if they're close enough. Let's get a new post-it note with some ideas here. So blast could be 1 hazard per vehicle in the squad, or it could be within short of the damaged vehicle. But I can't remember if everything's supposed to be within short. Let's just go check the coherency rules. Squadron coherency. After a squadron completes its movement, for each vehicle in that squadron that is not within medium range of another vehicle in the squadron, that squadron receives 1 hazard token. Okay, so they've got to be within medium range. Is there an advantage to being within short range? Because if I say that you get past blast hazards if you're within short range, then I'm basically saying that you've got to spread out. Let's get a template. There's a medium, there's a short. So short is not comedically far apart for a squadron. That's still quite cool. And they've got to be within medium. All right. So we'd have to say blast and squads, and we're going to say max 1 hazard per squad mate within short of target, including themselves. So that way you'll always get 1 hazard token from a blast weapon. You might get more. So that means that it's worth throwing a grenade. It's worth throwing multiple grenades, because each one of those, so yeah, that, let's say per attack step, because per attack step means we get rid of the problem with multiple small attacks versus 1 big one. It's nice to have things like attack step available to solve these kinds of problems. Okay, so I think we have a solution for blast that's worth testing. Coherency. Is coherency well explained enough? After a squadron completes its movement, for each vehicle in the squadron that is not within medium range of another vehicle in the squadron receives 1 hazard token. Perhaps it's just this negative expression of it. For each vehicle in the squadron that is more than medium from all other. After a squadron completes its movement, for each vehicle in that squadron that is more than medium from all other vehicles in the squadron receives 1 hazard token. So you've got 3 cars, one of them's really far away. These guys are not more than, for each vehicle in the squadron that's more than medium from all other vehicles. So this one is out of coherency, so you gain 1 hazard token. If we blow up one of those cars, so we've just got 2 cars, if they are far apart, they are both more than medium from all other vehicles in the squadron. So the squadron receives 2 hazard tokens. And then when he's on its own, For each vehicle that is more than medium range from all other vehicles in squadron, there are no other vehicles, so he doesn't get any hazard tokens. Yeah, that works. I think it might have just been this slightly clunky negative expression of it. So we'll explain it positively. All right. I'm not going to do this one right now. Let's clear up the last smallish one. Okay, let's go through the activation step for a squadron. Activating a squadron. Heroic vehicles activate as per the normal Gaslands rules. Thanks, Mike. I don't know why that is the first line of the squadron part. Activating a squadron. Squadrons need a couple of additional rules. To activate a squadron, resolve the movement step with each vehicle in the squadron, starting with a lead vehicle. Resolve an attack step with each vehicle in the squadron in any order. Resolve a wipeout step. Okay, so the movement step, moving a squadron. To move a squadron, select a vehicle from the squadron to act as the lead vehicle for this activation. A different lead vehicle may be selected every activation if the player wishes. The lead vehicle and remaining vehicles perform their movement steps in slightly different ways. So we select a lead vehicle for the activation, we move the lead vehicle. Select and place a movement template for the lead vehicle. Roll skid dice as normal, but you may assign the skid dice results to any vehicle in the squadron. Assigned results are resolved during that vehicle's movement. The lead vehicle may push it as normal. Resolve skid dice and template icons assigned to the lead vehicle. Move the lead vehicle into its final position, collision window. Okay, so we've moved and resolved skid dice, and we may have given skid dice to other people. So select one of the remaining vehicles to move, select and place a movement template for this vehicle, resolve skid dice and template icons assigned to this vehicle, move this vehicle into final position. Yeah, this is easy. This is easy. We just say only the lead vehicle can shift. Because then we're basically saying, well, we want the whole squadron to be in one particular speed, in one particular gear. So the lead vehicle changes and then potentially hands out some slides and shifts. If you've got a template icon assigned to a squad mate, then they can't change gear, so they're going to have to use it to drop a hazard or something. Okay, that's fine. That's a good solution. Happy with that one. Okay, so now we get to the really hairy question of sponsors, perks, and squadrons. I'm going to need more coffee. Okay, so we'll check a couple things first. So the first thing is heroic drivers can be purchased perks. Squadrons cannot be purchased perks. Convoys may select sponsors as normal, although audience votes are not granted in standard XL games. Okay, so that is a problem. I should be doing both yes or both no, because half and half is causing the problem. All right, here we are in Sponsorland. Okay, so I was just looking at Rutherford and thinking, military hardware, this team may purchase a single tank and a single helicopter. There are some new chassis types in XL, mechs and super heavy tanks. They are all restricted, which means they cannot be purchased as standard as part of team building unless you and your fellow players agree in advance, or as part of a specific scenario such as the Colossus of Mars scenario below. So that's fine, everything's fine there. Okay, so Rutherford doesn't need anything to activate any powers. So what's going through my mind here is, are the sponsors here interesting for these mass battle games? Are they relevant? Because these are written with a very different type of game in mind. So do we just ignore these and say no sponsors? Do we allow people to pick and choose and potentially create some sort of broken combos? Do we take the time to invent some new sponsors specifically for Mass Battle Gaslands XL? That's what's going through my mind, and I'm not sure yet. The playtesters all chose Rutherford for obvious reasons, which is Gaslands XL feels more like a battle game, and this is the like shooting things more better sponsor. Warden, I think, would also be a solid choice, given that you get cheaper vehicles so you can run more of a horde. So another potential option would be to say audience votes do get earned, but they only get earned by heroic drivers and nothing that the... Yeah, so that's a decent idea. Okay, so only heroic drivers earn or relate to votes and sponsors. So if that were the case, then Rutherford squads of vehicles wouldn't get the ammo. Oh yeah, so that would be squads don't gain the sponsored perks. So yeah, your squads wouldn't have extra ammo. This team may not purchase lightweight vehicles. That would still be relevant. If this vehicle, meaning a heroic vehicle, causes 6 or more hits. Yeah, so that way you couldn't have squadrons contributing to that. Miyazaki, the first time a heroic vehicle pushes it during an activation, this vehicle may push it. Yep, fine. Sponsored perks, so they wouldn't get it. Team sponsored by Miyazaki may not purchase fields. Yep, that works too. May not purchase vehicle types with a base handling value of 2 or lower. Yep, that works. Showing off at the end of a heroic vehicle's activation. If it resolved at least 1 spin and at least 1 slide and changed gear and did not wipe out, then it gains a showing off token. At the end of this vehicle's activation, if every in-play vehicle on this team has a showing off token. See, this is the sort of thing that's fiddly, because if every in-play heroic vehicle on this team, it gets a bit fiddly, because I would have to like errata that specifically, because I can't think of a general way of just changing this vehicle to heroic vehicle, and like if every in-play heroic vehicle, but I don't want to change like may not purchase heroic vehicle types with a base hand. This is the problem. There's a lot of potential breaky points. Team sponsored by Mishkin. This team may purchase electrical weapons. Great. After activating in 4, 5 or 6, this vehicle, heroic vehicles, may add 1 ammo token. Whenever a vehicle in this team attacks with a named weapon that's not been attacked with by any vehicle during this game yet. I mean, both of these, there's like an easy way of interpreting it, which is when it's talking about vehicles, the perks only talk about heroic vehicles, but it just doesn't quite. It's messy. This team may purchase the nitro upgrade at half the cost, so that would apply. That would apply to all vehicles. When this vehicle gains a hazard token as a result of nitro boosters, so that would be a sponsored perk that relates to 1 vehicle, so that would only be heroic drivers. Cult of Speed works. Kiss My Asphalt works. Slime. Alright, so let's make a few notes here, because the only things we've actually found are showing off all the toys. All of that worked fine. Pinball, yeah, that's fine. Spiked Fist, yep, that's fine. During this vehicle's activation, if this vehicle begins the wipeout step, yep, that works fine too. If this vehicle explodes, yep, this is all fine. This team may purchase extra upgrades, so Scarlet is fine. Raise the sail. Yep. Press gang or keel haul. When another vehicle in contact with this vehicle is wrecked, the vehicle may gain. Yep, so that one works too, because all of these things that say this vehicle, I am going to say are fine. Declaring a bogey works fine. This vehicle, this vehicle. If the bogey wipes out this team as a whole. So I think this is before the first game. Hot Pursuit needs to be a heroic vehicle. There's no question about that. Okay, Vernie. Trunk of Junk. You may attack with any... Trunk of Junk is written clumsily. That should be this vehicle may attack. Naughty. It's the shooting template of a shooting attack touches the rear edge of this vehicle. Yep, that's fine. Whenever a dropped weapon template that was placed by this team is removed from play, this team gains. Okay, yeah, so that needs to be just when it was dropped by a heroic. That's going to be a pickle, because you're going to have to remember which ones were dropped and which ones weren't. It's a possibility that we just make Vernie really powerful, because that would be a lot simpler. Maxine, this vehicle, this vehicle, this vehicle, all good. Order of the Inferno. Ooh, this is going to be gross. At the end of the gear phase, if there are more enemy vehicles on fire than there are friendly vehicles on fire, or all enemy vehicles are on fire, then this team gains. Do you know what? That one kind of works. Bum Bum Beverly might just need to be outlawed for this. Alright, this is doing my nutting. Start of the game. After deployment, all vehicles in this team except one must gain the Ghost Rider special. This vehicle ignores and is ignored by other vehicles at all times. Can't be involved in collisions. Yeah, so I think we'll just say no Bev for now. She's too specifically built for the shape of the team, I think, to work. Alright, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus Beverly. So I think probably the right answer here is to have heroic drivers are the only ones that gain the sponsored perks, and then everything else kind of works. All right, I have got some work to do. I'm going to make some changes to this document. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and until next time, I will catch you later. All right, well, there we go. We've got Post-it notes stuck all over Gaslands XL, and I have got some writing up to do. If you want to follow along with how this progresses, then of course, click that subscribe button. And until next time, I suppose, I will see you later. Bye-bye.